Welcome everybody, this is Heroes and Brews with Nerdy Dude, I guess today, because as you can see, I'm by myself. Ty is away for the weekend visiting the fam. So I'm here to just do a quick review of the Mummy that I just saw last night. This will be a spoiler review, so I'm going to talk as if you guys have already seen it. I'll be honest, I don't know if you want to go see it. I'll say right off the bat. I mean, it had its good moments, it had its bad moments. It's kind of what I expected it to be. I mean, from the trailers, it looked fantastic, but just kind of nervous going into it because there wasn't a lot of publicity. I feel like I didn't see a lot of actors promoting it on talk shows, which is weird, and that's never a good sign. And usually the critic reviews come out a few days prior to the movie being released, and that wasn't happening, so I was a little nervous. And as you guys know, super excited about this Dark Universe starting. Huge fan of the Universal Monsters, and I thought it was a really interesting and exciting idea to start this. So I'll just go right into it. Like I said, there were some positive moments, there were some negative moments. We'll start with the positives first. Let's be positive right now. So I think the way the movie started off, I felt was very captivating. It drew me in. It definitely had, from the trailer, it looked like more of an action-adventure film, which there were a lot of that, which kind of paid homage to the Brendan Fraser run, which is definitely a guilty pleasure of mine, especially the first one. It wasn't as campy as that was, but yeah, so it was definitely an action-adventure film, but it had horror elements, which I thought was great, and I was kind of wondering whether they were going to go that route. But definitely in the beginning of the movie, you're introduced to the Mummy herself, and the way that they showed her story, they didn't drag it along. I mean, it was right to the point, but it wasn't too brief. And they basically showed her, and she had a thirst for power, which they do show in the trailer. And she felt like, you know, her rightful place should have been queen of Egypt. And she ends up slaughtering her family, her father, I believe, his wife or girlfriend, and their newborn son, who she figured, okay, this little guy's going to take my spot, and I can't have that happen. So that scene was great when she was summoning Set, who was, you know, the god of death, and that whole scene where the hieroglyphics were appearing on her skin, that was awesome. The visuals were great, and then there's this creepy thing walking behind her that was kind of freaky, handing her this dagger that she had to stab into a man, and the god would go into the man, and all this kind of stuff. And so that was great. And right off the bat, I'm like, okay, it's pulling me in. You know, all these critic reviews and everything are pretty negative. I'm just sitting back wondering, when is this going to begin? When am I going to start to hate this thing? And I have to say, we'll stick with positives. The effects were unbelievable, which is to be expected. There was a lot of great scenes. You know, nighttime scenes where they were in a graveyard, they were by this cathedral, and it definitely gave me that old school Universal Monster vibe, Dracula, Frankenstein. So it made me excited because I kept thinking about, you know, there's this Dark Universe coming, we're going to see all these characters, and so seeing elements like that got me really pumped. And like I said, the Mummy, Amunet looked fantastic. She was gorgeous and terrifying at the same time. They really nailed that. She was probably my favorite part, which in these monster movies, the monster should be your favorite part. I mean, you have these secondary characters. I understand they get a A-lister like Tom Cruise, but to me, she shined, and that's what I want. I want these monsters to take the spotlight in these films. So visually, it looked great. It wasn't too long, which was good. But I really enjoyed it. Where it gets to be negative, I would say, is sidekick that he has, that Tom Cruise has, was kind of a pain in the ass. Right off the bat, I understand he was a comic relief, and I guess they felt like you needed that comic relief, but I don't know if you necessarily needed it. Maybe it was just the actor. I believe he's from that show New Girl, and I know he was in Jurassic World, and he was great in that. I didn't pay him that much, but this was pretty brutal with him. It just, the jokes didn't really hit, and along with him, the female lead just didn't. I didn't really feel sympathy for her. I wasn't. I didn't feel any sort of attachment to her. There's a part towards the end where, like I said, spoilers. She's dead. She drowned due to the mummy doing that, and I wasn't upset. I was kind of like, all right, good. And I hate saying that, but she tried to land some jokes, and they didn't land at all, and she just was kind of a disposable character to me. I think Tom Cruise did a great job. I was a little iffy about him, but the Mission Impossible movies he does, I think, are fantastic, and so I could see him in something like this. It's supposed to be a big summer blockbuster, so I think he did a great job, and it seems as if he's going to be trickled throughout the rest of these Universal Monster movies. Which I'm okay with. Like I said, I think I'm curious to see where his character goes. A big thing that still kind of bugs me, I mean, there's numerous things, but a big thing that kind of bugs me is the twist at the end. I mean, it gets to a certain point where it's just Tom Cruise and the mummy, and you're wondering, how is this going to end? I mean, with how powerful she is, and like I said, she basically wants to use him as a vessel for Set, and then once this god is in him, those two can do their mummy thing. But I just so I didn't know, is it just going to end like that, and then from here on out they're kind of together, which in a way I kind of hoped happened, and those two would stay together, and he would just kind of go back and forth with this evil that's inside of him, and then his good side, because Tom Cruise, which I don't think a lot of people, you don't get it from the trailers, but he's a dick in the movies. He's a pretty big douchebag, which was kind of surprising, but it was good though. I enjoyed it. From the trailers, I thought he was just an archaeologist. They come upon this sarcophagus, blah blah blah, but he's not that at all. He's just this guy. Him and the sidekick, who I can't stand, they basically they go in for the military to just kind of scope things out. But what they've been doing is they've been finding artifacts and selling them on the black market. So he's a thief, he's a liar, he's just a piece of shit. But the great thing is, the reason I liked it is because this guy never saw any of this coming, and he just was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and now he has to deal with this curse. So that was it was a different take, but I enjoyed it. So at the end of the movie, these two are battling, and I'm wondering how the hell is this thing going to end? Where's this going to go? So basically, he ends up stabbing himself with this dagger. The god is then inside of him, so it's like God on God, I guess, and he ends up basically sucking the life out of her, because what else are you going to do at this point? She had a huge sand face going through London, which was an awesome scene, reminiscent of the Brendan Fraser mummy. They love to do that. I think they did in the first one. In the second one, it was a body of water with a face. Not as cool, but yeah. So then that happens, and you're wondering, okay, now she's all shriveled up like a prune, and Russell Crowe, which I'll get to in a sec, who I did enjoy a lot. Him and his crew end up putting her in their sarcophagus. She's gone. Hope she comes back. I'm assuming she'll come back at some point, if this universe continues. And then you're left with Tom Cruise. Somehow he breathes life into the female character, and she comes back, and it is what it is. And I hate saying that I couldn't, I really just didn't feel for her. She just was kind of unnecessary for me. I feel like they really didn't give this character enough backing. And I know this script went through 6 different people, which at certain points you can kind of tell it gets a little muddy. at times. Not as muddy as I thought it would be, but I could see how it went through a few different hands. That's for sure. So, anyways, he's left with this godlike ability, and that's it. He vanishes, and you're wondering, okay, what's going to happen next? I did hear rumors that he was a descendant of the Van Helsings, which I thought would have been a great idea, especially this character who isn't familiar with this world at all, kind of in disbelief of this, but he comes from a descendant of somebody who has been known to hunt down these creatures, and at some point down the road with these films, I would have loved to have seen him, transition from this piece of shit in a sense, to the hero. And I know this sounds really cliche, but I think a character like an actor like Tom Cruise could really pull that off, and it would be believable for these types of movies. I'm not looking for Oscar-winning performances and everything. I mean, it's a summer blockbuster. It's a fun movie. It did its job. But sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. I will say another positive though. It was Russell Crowe, which I had mentioned, and he plays Dr. Jekyll. And I wondered going into it, are you going to see the Mr. Hyde side? And you do. And they show it subtly at one point, and then I thought, okay, that's good. We got like a taste of it. Save it though. And then, boom, full on Mr. Hyde mode, and him and Thomas Cruise battle it out for a little bit, and I didn't want all that so soon. But this society, this I know a lot of people compared it to like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for Universal Monsters, and he's sort of the Nick Fury, I guess. This whole group is very interesting, and there's a really cool scene, especially if you're a nerd for these kinds of monsters. They go into this lab. You see a vampire skull. You see it looks like a fin of the creature from the Black Lagoon, and a bunch of other things I couldn't really make out, but that was a pretty cool scene. That was kind of it was a sweet nod to, hey, there's more stuff to come, I hope. But I thought that society was really interesting, and surprisingly, Russell Crowe's character, his plan to defeat the mummy really wasn't a great plan. It was funny because me and Steve, who went to go see this, we looked at each other like, this is what they're going with. Basically, he just wanted to stab Tom Cruise. Nick is the character's name. I keep referring to him to Tom Cruise, but his name's Nick. Not that it really matters. To stab him, the god goes in. They pretty much blow up his body. The mummy can't really do much after that. And they deal with her, and that's that. And they were actually going to experiment on her, take her, capture her, whatever. And we just thought, that's the plan they're going with, huh? I mean, it wouldn't be my first option. That would be maybe D, plan D. But even Nick says that's what we're going with, and that doesn't happen. But it just seemed like it really, I don't know, it wasn't thought out. There was a lot of things that they tried to hit, and they just missed, and it's unfortunate. I don't know what happens after this. I don't think anybody knows, because just the reviews are not the greatest, and who knows how much it's going to make this weekend, or how much it's going to make altogether when they factor in what it'll do overseas. But I think as a beginning to this dark universe that they have planned, it's not the strongest way to start it off. But I have hope. I mean, I heard the next film in this universe is Bride of Frankenstein, which I'm assuming is going to be a lot different than this, unless they make it more action-adventure-y. It'd be cool to have a different take, sort of like Marvel in a way. They kind of have each movie has its own identity, and I kind of hope they do that with this, because you can with these monsters. I mean, the way Bride of Frankenstein should be portrayed, I think, should be a lot different than, say, what they'll do with a Wolfman movie. But who knows? I don't know why they announced all these movies so soon, not knowing how The Mummy would do. But I mean, we'll see. I really hope this continues, because I'm excited. I'll commit to it. I just figured the reason that they probably did this was because we live in a world where, you mention a movie, you go, hey, there's this new movie coming out about Skittles. Someone goes, who the hell cares? I mean, I enjoy a good Skittle every now and then, but I really don't care. And it's like, well, it's going to be a part of a shared universe of candy films. And then everybody stops and goes, shared universe, you say? Then they're going to be about Jolly Ranchers and Dum Dum Lollipops and shit like that. We love shared universes. Let's just put that out there. We see a film and then we realize it's going to be a part of something bigger, and this character is going to be interwoven in between all these films and stuff like that, and that's cool. It really, really is. So, I guess they just figured, we're not sure how this is going to resonate. I mean, in a world full of superhero movies that take over the box office, are people really going to care about Universal monsters? Well, let's make it a shared universe. And before The Mummy was even released, they decided to say this, and hoping that that'll bring people into seats, knowing that this is going to be part of a bigger world. And like the statistics show, I guess, we enjoy these huge epic shared worlds, shared universes. So I guess that's why they just kind of jumped the gun and said, hey, listen, we got a bunch of A-list actors, and it's going to be a part of this huge thing, and get excited. And it did. It excited me, absolutely. But the movie, I'm not going to lie, it kind of bummed me out. I was really looking forward to it, and it didn't hit as well as I hoped it would. But I still have hope. I'm still staying positive. Life is too short to hate everything, so I hope that they kind of learn from this, and from here on out, they fix those mistakes. I really hope they do, because I think they have something pretty interesting going on here, and I'm still very excited to see what could happen after this. So I guess what I would give this movie, out of let's say 10 of set daggers, I'll give it a 5.5, maybe a 6, because The Mummy was she was pretty breathtaking, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. So not the greatest score, but hey, it was worth the $14 I think I spent to go. So check it out. I mean, it's meant to be seen on a big screen, especially with all the visuals. So go. I say go, enjoy it. I wouldn't spend the money for 3D. It might look cool in 3D, I don't know, but I'm not the biggest fan of that unless it's done right. But go, check it out. Comment. Let us know if you've seen it. Let me know what you think. Again, subscribe, like, check out our other videos. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So until next time.